All right, everybody, welcome to the State of SMS Marketing webinar. We have an incredible panel of people here today. People I've known, some I've known a long time, some I've known a short time, but all really experienced, amazing leaders in marketing and on the cutting edge of sort of what's happening right now in the business world and the tech world. So really excited to welcome everyone in. I see people joining. Love to see it. Feel free. We have Q&A, we have chat. We also have a survey you can take. So in the polls and quizzes section. So feel free to go ahead and take this poll that we have here on the side whenever you feel like it. But where is everyone? While we're waiting for people to come in, if everyone wants to kind of jump into the chat and where they're joining from, would love to see where you're coming in from. I'm in Tennessee. I think our panelists from all over the country. So before we jump in, let's kick it around. I want to hear from everybody. Let's meet our panelists and let you guys introduce yourselves. So I'll start with me real quick. Jeremy Boudinot, VP of Growth at Textla. We're a business texting platform servicing small businesses, high growth businesses around the country. And I've been SMS or B2B marketing for about 10 years. So I want to throw over to Luke. Luke, go ahead and you can go next, man.
Sweet. Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Great to be here, guys. I'm Luke. I'm the founder of Textla. Been in the SMS and CPaaS space for a long time. Previously came from Twilio, where I led all of North American sales there. And so now I'm helping small businesses save on their SMS costs. So
love it, man. Brandon, over to you next.
Hey, Brandon Redlinger here, VP of Marketing over at Chili Piper. Relatively new to Chili Piper as a marketing leader, but a longtime user. I'm really happy to be on the team here at Chili Piper. And for those who may not be familiar, we do more than just fun, interesting things on LinkedIn, although that's a lot of what we're known for. But yeah, we do a lot around qualifying and routing and actually converting your inbound leads. And I am have been around B2B just as long as Jeremy. I think him and I actually connected when we were both at our first time marketing leaders back in like 2015 or something like that. So we go way back. We go way back.
Persist IQ days.
Persist IQ. Yeah, that's right.
Blast from the past. No, it's great.
Ambition Persist IQ. Yeah.
Well, welcome, man. Glad to have you. Yeah, dude, me and Redlinger go way back. So this is fun to be reconnecting. Amelia, let's start with you next.
Hoping you were going to save the best for last, but I guess we're saving Nick for best for last. Okay, I was like, oh, maybe he's gonna save me, because I thought that we've known each other and go way back to Jeremy, but I guess you and Brandon. I'm just a little offended here, but Amelia Taylor, I am excited to be here with y'all. I just recently, as I will share something later on LinkedIn, joined the team over at CapChase. And it is CapChase is a payment solution where it's going to be helping a lot of from SMB to all the way through enterprise companies be able to have the upfront money that they need in order to retain their customers, to reduce the churn that they need, and it's collecting that ACV upfront. So the payment solutions there, I would love to chat with people about it. I love to connect the company with the right people who are interested in learning more, because I'm learning as I go too. So let's learn together. And I've been on the dark side of marketing, if you will, for about 2 years now, but previously background being enterprise sales. So jumped over. And so having that sales background has led me to understanding how important and vital it is to have like really good marketing strategies, and then actually learning what works and what doesn't work by actually, driving the impact and then creating the process and then reiterating and learning all the things that the marketers do, and then becoming one myself. So excited to be here and to dive into this topic that I feel as though a lot of people don't leverage because they just don't.
Well, congratulations. I know we're breaking news here.
Breaking news,
And
you
for
guys.
breaking news, I mean, Capchase is a great company. They're a hot company. If you hadn't heard of them, your name is probably Jeremy Boudinot living in Chattanooga, Tennessee, under a rock. So,
Really in Chattanooga.
Right. That's right. No, welcome.
Congratulations, Amelia. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Seriously, that's awesome. Very lucky to have you. Well, thanks, Amelia. And then Nick, let's hear from you, man.
Yeah. So I'm Nick, co-founder over at a company called TACK, myself and Mark Killens. Been in tech for most of my career as a B2B marketer, mostly early stage companies. Lot of Series A, Series B, went through the whole running out of runway, acquisitions, IPOs. So it's been a lot of fun, but now we're trying to solve the mission of getting people to be more human, which kind of goes in today's thing, with basically their go-to-market. Our big public enemy number one is generic go-to-market. Everyone's trying to run the same playbook. So how can you run it to be more human? And so that's everything that Mark and I are trying to solve through TACK, as well as we have a community called Club PF, which actually just turned 1 today. So Amelia's in there. And so we've released a free plan because we want to basically get as many people familiar with people first go to market as possible. So I've rebranded my newsletter. Everything is to solve and kill off generic go to market.
Love it. Yeah, very timely topic for today, for sure, as we try to be more human in this era of automation and people just doing mass outbound with no personalization whatsoever and just spraying and praying still. So Nick, great to have you, man. Well, cool. We can jump in. I think we have a number of topics to cover. Again, like topic is the state of SMS marketing. It's using text to reach your buyers at the top of the funnel, throughout the funnel, even ways to use it with existing customers and things like that. So I think one of our first topics we want to start out with is compliance, which isn't sexy, but is kind of critical because I think most people don't really know necessarily how to be compliant or like what's at stake and that sort of stuff. So I want to throw it over to Luke. And Luke, my question for you is, for someone who's new to text marketing, what's like the first thing they need to know in terms of like, how do they be compliant? How do they make sure their numbers don't get blocked or turned off or sent to spam? And basically, how can they start doing text marketing without getting in trouble? If you can answer that question.
Yeah, that's a good question. It is compliance can get boring. I'll keep it high level, make it kind of cut and dry. Honestly, at the end of the day, you really just need opt-in from like your customers, especially if you're doing marketing. So like similar thing to emails, don't go out like spamming, a list or like a bunch of people. That will get you in trouble. There's actually fines attached with the new kind of TCPA law on the SMS side of things. So you definitely want to protect yourself from a business side of things. And even though that law is starting to lose weight and litigators aren't kind of having the firepower that they once used to, it's still best practice to kind of follow the guidelines put out there. And so what that looks like is if you're doing any sort of marketing, so that means you're messaging more than one person at a time, you have to have explicit opt-in, which means they've either filled out a form, gone through your website, they've kind of confirmed that they do want to receive text messages. And so that's kind of the number one key thing there. And then the kind of flip side of it is if you are doing more one-to-one messaging or like transactional messaging, so think like a meeting reminder or something like that, it's actually a bit less. You can kind of have like implied consent. So depending on the actions that they've taken, it's okay to message them. But at the end of the day, if you're doing marketing and you're pushing them through a CTA to purchase something, that does need to be very explicit opt-in that you've gathered. So if you're following those two things, you're on the right track, and you can start crafting some really great strategies to convert those customers.
Very cool. Well, good to know. I mean, yeah, so basically, rule of the road is kind of treat like you would anyone else. Make sure people have opted in to receive communication from you, and make sure to keep your outreach limited to people who either have implied consent or explicit consent. Cool. Well, we can move on from that. If people have specific questions about compliance, they can throw them in the chat. We'll answer them. Just feel free to throw those out there. I kind of want to switch now into like examples of SMS campaigns working, some best practices and principles. Let's just start getting into the good stuff that I think people came here for. So Amelia, kind of want to throw over to you. I know you recently had like a story about an SMS campaign working for you, or working on you, I should say. Do you want to share that here with the group?
Yeah, so I had, this was years ago, and I'm in this kind of liaison sales marketing role, but I was in it more of a sales role, but I was acting more like a marketer with my approach. So it was where I was realizing I needed, I mean, I've always been very much so like the focus that Nick's saying, people first, like people first, people first. And realizing that no one falls asleep with their title and everybody puts their pants on the same way, that no one's above anyone. There's also that, you know, knowing that it's like, okay, I can still reach out to this person as an individual, not based off their title. So the fear factor, you know, wasn't there. But it's something, it was when I was with a data provider company, and this guy, I started reaching out, and he was ICP to a T. And so I sent him a LinkedIn message because I saw the green little circles. It's like, all right, let's just see what we can do here. He sent me a voice note back. So I was like, okay, this is good. He communicates in different kind of ways. This is great. And so my message back to him, after seeing that he was in the Tampa Bay area as well, was, hey, for the sake of for the sake of simplicity, here's my cell. If it makes sense for us to go ahead and communicate this way. We're both in the community. I actually have an event coming up through Pavilion, which is a Slack community, but also in person, you know, there's different chapters. So I had planned a community too. So I kind of intertwined something that was relevant to what he does too, to where he could be invited to that. And also it was a way for me to open this other line of communication through texting, not just being on the phone. So it was and saying, here's my number. And then also saying, if it's cool with you, I'm happy to invite you to this. I can shoot you over a text with the details. Obviously, if I'm doing so, I need his number. So it's kind of a play there and that approach. And so he was like, yeah, absolutely. For the sake of simplicity, I'm here for that all day. So I think when you put simplicity first, that's such a vital piece of it, but you can't just show up with it being where it's hyper personalized, right? Like that's cool and all, but like, don't do that. It has to be relevant to that individual. So when there's relevancy, they're going to respond. So this guy, let me just jump to the end by saying he did not buy from me. First and foremost, he did not purchase, but he wrote this long article, shared it on LinkedIn, all about my approach being so hyper relevant to what it was that made sense to him, by saying that I was persistent in my approach, not a pest. But those are so different. So knowing when you're being a pest by not being relevant to the individual that you're reaching out to, that's going to make or break the relationship. So that's really, I've got an airplane flying over me if you hear that. So, okay. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but it's really loud. I can't hear you. FYI.
No, you're good. That makes perfect sense to me. I think so that, yeah, example of like, you know, basically how an SMS campaign can work for you. I think like I kind of throw it to Brandon now, where I know you have some principles, Brandon, that you always use like for SMS to work. And then you also had like a story, I think recently, of we were chatting offline about a text that did not work on you. So do you want to share maybe like what's the principles of a good SMS sales and marketing strategy are, and then like the example of a text that did not work on you?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I got this text at 2:06 a.m. Let me read it to you real quick. Hi, I'm Ava from blank company. I got your number from a database. We have some opportunities. Can I share some more information with you? That's the message. There's so many things wrong with that message, right? If anyone gets that, no one's replying, right? Like there's absolutely no way anyone ever replies to that message. It's not like, so for me, whenever I'm talking about messaging, this obviously directly applies to SMS and text messaging, but this is also true for like outbound cold emails. It has to be relevant, it has to be personal, and it has to be timely. I mean, Amelia hit on some of those things already, but that's how I've always looked at it. It has to be personalized. So, high branded. They didn't even say high branded. They know nothing about me, the pains I'm solving, or the pains I have, the problems that they're solving. Has to be relevant. I think a lot of people think personalization is enough, but personalization, I think, is way overrated in the sense that if it's not actually relevant, it doesn't matter. Like, I got a message the other day from someone who's like, go 49ers. It's not hard to know that I like the 49ers. Am I still a little bit hurt about that Super Bowl loss? Maybe. Have I gotten over that yet? Maybe. Maybe not. Right. So that has nothing to do with my ability or my interest in buying your software. So it's got to be personal, it's got to be relevant, and it's got to be timely. Look, if I'm not in market, if I just bought something else, if the timing's not right, we're going through budget cuts. As much as I want your software, if it's not the right time, it's just not the right time and it's not going to happen. So the personalized relevance and timeliness really matters a lot in any message, especially your texts.
AKA,
Yeah.
like, do not send anything at 2:03 a.m. people. That is so dumb. Do
Yeah,
not,
that's ridiculous.
don't. It's like, oh my gosh. I like was cringing a little bit when you're saying this. I'm not kidding. Like I have chills.
I got your number from a database. Thanks for making me feel special. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Ava, girl, we can help you, but like, take yourself first. Don't do that.
Yeah, I should have just sent her the link to this webinar.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, Ava, my answer to you is going to be in this webinar. Please attend. And,
Yeah, exactly.
you'll see my response.
It'll
And then
be at 2 p.m.
at 2
Eastern.
p.m. Yes.
There
late
you
12
go. Exactly.
The other funny thing, of course, being that Brandon, you just took a role with a new company, like a month before that email was sent, or that text was sent, I should say. So, not just talk about not being relevant at all to where you're at in your journey. She needs to find a better database of
Yeah,
people
exactly.
who have switched jobs in the last month. Cool. Nick, I want to throw it to you next, man. Like, I think you've talked about, and one important thing too, I think it's worth talking about right now is, text as a channel kind of opening up. We've been in like the world of email and phone calls for so long, but, obviously like our generation, I think everyone here is in their 30s, we're sort of, maybe like the new millennial generation coming about and being more prone to respond to a text than say listening to a voicemail or answering a cold call. So can you speak to maybe like your thoughts on text and why it's maybe more relevant to people nowadays than in the past?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but like I don't answer any phone calls, or like if I get a lot of phone calls, and if it's not in my contact list, I just don't answer. Like if it's important enough, they can leave me a voicemail and I'll reach back out to them. But text message, like I don't know, like I talk to people all day. The last thing I want to do is like be on the phone like outside of work. Like I text. I probably have like 40 or 50 combos a day with different people through like text message. And for me, it's just a lot more convenient, mostly because like I can either do it on my phone, I can do it on my computer. It's just a lot more convenient. Now, from an industry perspective, I used to work for a company called PlanGrid that was in the construction tech space. And so they ended up getting acquired by Autodesk. But what was interesting is we used to have to go to job sites and we digitize blueprints. So like until the iPad was born, we couldn't actually solve the issue for job sites. But the reason I say that was because these people, no one cold calls construction workers. Like it's very like they love talking on the phone. Like you would cold call them, they would be super excited. We realized that text messaging for construction workers worked extremely, extremely well. And we would sell it on a seat by seat basis. And it was just so easy. We would just have our sales team just send out text messages all day. And in that industry, it was very, very like it worked really, really well. Because again, it was something where it was like, hey, no one talks to these people. Like they're excited to hear from someone if you can solve their issue. Because I didn't realize blueprints, like a set of blueprints for a job site, it's like $60,000, and you go through multiple versions of those. And if you can digitize it and just buy $1,000 license and a $500 iPad and solve all your issues and do more, like cool, sign me up for that, and I can swipe it with a credit card. It's just like, again, you have these people that were like kind of older school mindsets, and they still text it. And if you could just explain it over text and like go swing and bring them some like Dunkin' Donuts or something at the job site, like these people love seeing you. So I don't know. I think it definitely depends on the industry. But for me personally, like if you want to text me, at least just tell me who you are. Like I don't mind text messages. I get cold texts all the time. Half the time it's just not, like, kind of what Brandon said. It's not relevant. It's not timely. It's not personalized. Like they don't even say my name, or they call me a different name. And it's like, just tell me who you are and like what the text message is. I'll probably reply to you. And if it's at least relevant to me, I'll point you in the right direction.
Yeah, well said, man. I'm with you where I'm not gonna answer a phone call from a number I don't receive. But if, like if you text me, I will read it. So if it's the bar is low, if it's like if you've shown some level of work to try to like prove like you're like Brad said, like relevance and like personalization, timeliness, then I'll at least respond to you. So interesting, definitely like it's sort of like a new, maybe like a new wave here in terms of like go-to-market capabilities for reach people via text. We have one question that's come in. I want to throw this around the horn. This is from Miley Thompson. She asks, we have a large database of like 28,000 people. And so it takes 6 hours to send a text blast to everyone. What time do you guys recommend sending them? And maybe Luke, you can speak to why it takes 6 hours for them to go out, and maybe also provide like your thoughts to Molly on what time she could send them.
Yeah, good question, Miley. Well, each number has a kind of different send throughput. So we can likely help you speed that up if we can connect after the webinar. My email is luke@textla.com. So just send me over a note and we can help you speed that up. But with that 6 hour timeline, if that's what you're working with, then I would recommend, kind of starting probably, Pacific morning time. So like, 8 a.m., probably 9 a.m. Pacific. And that way you're kind of working it throughout the day across all the time zones, assuming you're in North America. And you're kind of finished by that night. So you're still within that quiet hour window is what we call it. So you're not landing in Brandon's inbox at 2:03 morning.
For sure. Brandon, what do you think,
Ye-
man?
Yeah, well, I would question whether that's the right thing to do in the first place. If I have that large of a database, do I really? I mean, I think there are instances where, great, email the whole or text the whole database. If you have something like a flash sale or something like that, where it's okay, like it's probably welcomed and they opted into that, and it's something that they do want to hear about. But I also wouldn't try to like fake personalization in that case, right? Like actually make it clear that it is a message, a generic message from the company that's going out to multiple people. And in that case, I might be okay if it is early in the morning and I got 24 hours, I still got the full day to redeem the offer or whatever that is. But I would caution whether I would wonder whether the right strategy is to text your whole database. Maybe you can segment and send a specific message to certain personas, or maybe you have intent data that you can say, all right, this segment of the database is interested in XYZ problem, or maybe it's even by sales stage or by industry. So I would find a way to make the message itself a little bit more relevant, and then kind of go from there. I know it's more work, but if it's going to actually resonate with your audience a little bit more, the more work is going to be worth it.
I just want to know if that has been tested like thoroughly. Like have you sat down for 6 hours and done this to know that it's the 6 hours to do so? Because that is a ton of time. And that would have been, I mean, that doesn't sound like that's automation happening, really, like, so that's, I would be curious to know how much of that is personalized, to specific people. But I'm with you, Brandon. I think that there has to be take one of those personas and solely focus on them. And then I would say, if you're going to hit, four departments, whatever, for the VP of sales, VP of marketing, and you're going to go and try to send something within one organization to 4 or 5 different, stakeholders, let's say that, you're going to screw things up because it's not going to be relevant to each one of them by sending what you're sending. So if you're going to focus on one company, that's interesting. Like, I would say more so the vertical in the industry with one persona, opposed to the kind of ruining, because then you're tainted the whole entire kind of that whole relationship that you could build with that company. They're all talking internally. And they're like, did you get that text from that person? Oh, me too. And so, like, your name's going through their Slack channel and y'all are kind of done. So, I mean, you don't want to have that reputation for ruining your brand, your company's brand, by just blasting out everything. But I would be curious about that time frame of those 6 hours of and doing so, because that is a lot. That's a big chunk of your day.
For sure. Nick, thoughts?
No, I mean, I think I think like if you're weaving it into a bigger like omni-channel kind of experience, and there's like you're multi-threading, and like that's a way that you're using multi-threading within an account. I mean, I could see it from like an ABM lens for sure. I mean, the time is tricky, but I mean, if you're doing it over the course of a business day, and say it starts at 9 a.m. and you're doing for 6 hours, and you have a bunch of other pieces that are going out that same day that tie it into a larger campaign, I think that's still okay. I mean, think getting those 6 hours down is obviously best, but I mean, I don't know. I check my phone's next to me all times, so like I'm checking anytime I get a text message, I immediately look at it, and maybe that's just me, and I'm also probably just too glued to my phone. So
Sounds like a personal problem.
yeah.
For sure. Well, cool. Great question, Molly. Again, if you guys have other ones, feel free to throw them in, and we will answer them live. We're not going to save Q&A for the end. We're going to go ahead and keep it going. So, I kind of next want to go into use cases. I actually want to start with Nick. So, Nick, you talked about, I know you're big in the creator space too. So, talk to us about maybe using texting for ways with like using creator outreach or influencer marketing outreach, and ways that you can maybe incorporate SMS into that part of your marketing strategy. So actually, as a marketer, using it to further your marketing efforts.
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I don't know anyone that's doing this in the B2B space now. And like when we were like talking about that, I was like, damn, that's a really good idea. I was like, I got to start like selling this to people. But like if you think about it, the reason that you get into influencer market, at least in the B2B space, is because you want to borrow their reach, their trust, their authority that they have in the marketplace that is tied into your ICP. Now, the issue is most companies, going back to like that generic go-to-market, they run the same playbook where it's like, all right, cool, I'm going to do a sponsored LinkedIn post, and it's like a text post, and it's like that company does nothing with that text post. It's like a one-off, and it's like, all right, cool. I just spent, I mean, people charging, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for a LinkedIn post, sometimes less, depends on your obviously all the stuff that goes around with that. But like if you're just throwing that down the drain for like a one-off post, doesn't make sense to me. But if I could say, I'm going to use Brandon as an example. Brandon works for a cool company. He does a lot of cool stuff, posts great content online. I love Brandon's content. Now, if Brandon was partnering with a company, and I think the term there is partnership versus just a creator influencer kind of mindset. And Brandon texts me, says, hey, I'm going to be at this upcoming conference. Yeah, I'm just going to use the winter conference because I know it's happening this week as well. And it's like, I'm going to be at the winter conference. Like I'm hosting a dinner from people, B2B marketing leaders like you. Would love to meet you, shoot some content, get to know you a little bit more at that dinner because Brandon messaged me. So I think there's just a great way to leverage creators and influencers through SMS in tying it across your entire buyer's journey, not just top of funnel. Is a great way to accelerate opportunities with people that you love. Think about, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Cameo, video. Like you could do that same thing from people that you enjoy their content through text message, and I guarantee that you're going to be moving deals along faster. You're going to be closing revenue quicker, and use it on the customer retention side. If you'll go back to Brandon, if Brandon was to say, hey, would love to do something, love to have you at Chili Piper. You're an amazing customer, and I've used Chili Piper many times myself. Like, cool. Brandon recognizes this. Yeah, he's an outside voice, but he's someone I trust. And if Brandon was to text me, I'm going to do what Brandon says because I look up to him as one, as a content creator, but two, as someone that's also a leader in the space.
I appreciate that, Nick. I don't know if anyone has said anything so nice about him.
We're just seeing
Regie.
Brandon's faces today. We love Brandon, y'all. Y'all do too. We all love him.
We'll talk.
You don't need to right now. Don't do that, y'all.
I love it. No, great call out, Nick. And I kind of want to like throw it over, Brandon. Like, what are your thoughts, man? Like, is that some, that's obviously partnerships. Like, there's all kinds of creative ways to like, use SMS for things like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love the creativity of that. And I love just the way that Nick is thinking outside the box here, because we all know the power of people in our network or even influencers and some thought leaders. And you don't have to go after like the biggest name out there, right? If they're relevant to your specific audience, if they have an ear for your audience, I think it's absolutely worth doing. Yeah, I just love that idea, and I love the creativity on that.
For sure. I to take it back now, guys, I want to go back into a question for Luke, which is I know one fascinating story Luke had, I think, which was there's a couple ways to think about like SMS. You can do it from like a outbound like marketing sort of play, or you can do it with like doing partnerships and cool events, things like that. But one way is for inbound too. And Luke, I know at Twilio, where you were head of sales, you guys actually weren't using SMS, which is crazy to me, to deal with inbound. And I know you did that. You add that to the repertoire and had some good results. Do you want to share maybe what that was and like what your multi-channel strategy was for dealing with inbound leads?
Yeah, for sure. It was actually crazy. Like, imagine being a billion-dollar texting company and like no one on the sales team uses SMS or like knows how to. Like, it's crazy. So like first thing when I came out, I was like, guys, like we need to be texting people. Like, we're citing all these case studies for our customers. Why aren't we doing it ourselves? So basically what we implemented was inbound. We would reply to all of our inbound leads via SMS. So this kind of gets into like how we would do it. We would triple tap them. So we would send them a cold email, we'd cold call them, and we'd send a follow-up text. And so these were our hand raisers that were expecting to receive some sort of communications from a Twilio rep. And we found that SMS converted by far the best out of any channel for any sort of inbound lead. And the reason for that is honestly the time to convert these folks. And so what that looks like is you have to get in front of your audience as fast as possible to make an impression. There's a lot of studies that show ideally a rep should be contacting an inbound lead within the first 5 minutes. It boosts the basically conversion rate by over 22 times if you connect with a prospect within 5 minutes of them raising their hand. And so connecting isn't just hitting send, but it's actually getting another set of eyeballs on that message. And so just because you send them an email within the first 5 minutes, if they have a very busy day, then maybe they don't see it for hours, they get distracted. Now, maybe they don't even, schedule a demo at that point. It hurts your conversions. But because SMS has upwards of a 97% open rate within literally the first couple minutes that you hit send on that text message, you're much more likely to get that prospect set of eyes on that message and then convert them through the sales process. And so if there's one takeaway from this, it would be if you're not texting your inbound leads, you 100% should be, because it dramatically increased our pipeline and ultimately our closed won opportunities at Textla or at Twilio.
Yeah,
It's like, sorry, that just goes literally straight into what like Nick was saying, that he's glued to his phone. Might be a problem, we don't know yet, but he has his phone next to him all the time, and if he's submitting a form, and you got to put your number in, whatever. I mean, if he's got his phone right there, his laptop right here, submitting the form, like boom, like that looks good on a company's behalf too. That you're on top of your game. Like you've got things like going in a really solid motion. Like you look good by doing that too, which obviously makes sense with that stuff.
It's so true. It makes me think of like also what Nick said, where it's, let's say I fill out a form on my website. I get a call from a number I don't recognize 2 minutes later. I might not answer that, like even though I just filled the form, but if I get a text from them, hey, this is so and so, from TACK, like saw you fill the form, I see that, I'm immediately much more likely to respond. So it's the speed to lead thing where, and as Luke pointed out, it's the speed is like the person actually seeing the message. It's not just you reaching out, it's them actually receiving the message. So that's a great call, Luke. And then Redlinger, I'll throw it back to you because didn't you have some stats from Revenue IO, I think, where you had like a similar sort of like uplift from texting response?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this was one of the big value propositions of that company. We did a lot of phone calling and texting, and we just found that if you are on a texting basis with your buyers, you're 7 times more likely to close the deal. Now, but some of that is some people might take that to be like, okay, now I really need to just start texting people, and they just start blasting people with texts, and then they ruin the relationships, and now it's more annoying. The real point of that stat is to show the importance of building trust and intimacy with your buyers, right? And I do think part of that, for me, it's just another channel to nurture those relationships and staying top of mind without being annoying. And with the without being annoying is the important piece, right? Because a lot of times people they'll fill out a form, then I mean, hopefully they're using Chili Pepper, so they just get booked right away. But if they're not, they're yeah, you guys kind of set me up for that one. I couldn't not.
No, just
At least
y'all stuff. I love this. This is amazing.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, but it's like it's how do I actually build a meaningful relationship with my buyers? And a lot of times, again, they're not ready to buy right away. So great, we have a great demo call, we have a great discovery call. Hey, I need some more time. I need to talk to these people. You know what? In the meantime, let me just send you some more information. Or hey, Jeremy, I know we just talked yesterday. What you said reminded me of something. I'm just going to text this over to you real quick. Here's an article that we wrote about solving XYZ problems. It's just another touch to help build that relationship. And I really do think every single touch that you have with a prospect, whether that is support or an email or a phone call or a text, will move you closer to or further away. And it's just those incremental improvements or those incremental touches that get you further or closer. And I'll go back to something that Nick said too. It has to be, texting really has to integrate with your overall go-to-market strategy, right? If it's a tactic that you're relying on to fix your open rates, or a tactic you're relying on to close more deals, or a tactic you're relying on to save your company, sorry, I think you've already lost, you know?
Well said. But it's as a way to, I think it's fascinating how like you can use it in different ways throughout the funnel. Like the top of the funnel, it's speed to response. Lower in the funnel, it's texting your champion to help move the deal to close. So really good stuff. And we had one follow-up question, which was, Luke, can you give us an example of what you include in that first text you might send to an inbound lead who came into Twilio?
Sure. Yeah, it's probably gonna be a bit different depending on, what you're selling, what your sales process looks like, and kind of the warmth of the lead. If it's a straight like form fill, they want to talk to sales, they're like, hey, talk to me. The best thing to do for most reps is to get them on the phone. And so I like to use SMS as kind of a nudge to schedule some time with the buyer. So something, that may look like, and it's important to keep all the key principles of, personalize it. So, I'd say, hey, Luke, let them know who you are, who you're reaching out on behalf of. It's Luke with Twilio. And then, acknowledge that they did fill out a form. And that's not, this is not automated. They'll kind of get the hint that this is not an automated text, depending on how long it takes for you to get back to them. But that way you're showing them, hey, this is a real human being on the other end of it. And then I call out that they filled out the form and would love to talk with them. Is now a good time to chat, or is it better to schedule some time? Let me know. And typically you'll get a lot of responses back. Kind of with the different replies of either, yeah, I can chat now or we can chat later. If it's more something like an ebook or a playbook and it's somewhat warm, but it wasn't a direct hand raiser, what I always like to do is tailor it to the content that they just read and send a follow-up saying, hey, noticed that you took a look at our ebook, XYZ sounds relevant to you. Would it be okay, or would it be cool if I shared some more information on what that was that you were just looking at? And so then you'll kind of get them to hand raise even further for you to connect with them. And so really just depends where they're at, but that's how we were operating and saw really great results.
Love it. Thanks, man. Well, we're down to like the last few minutes. This is flown by. Realize now we have a lot more we wanted to cover, but I'll throw it to, we're gonna do one more like round around the horn to the panelists, and I want to hear like best practices. Like if you had like one takeaway for people who were attending this webinar on how to use SMS and how to start using it ASAP, what would that be? So Amelia, let's start with you. What's your takeaway for people who are attending?
Make it so simplified to be able to be communicated with. So if you are having your signature, if you're sending things out, make it where your cell is right there, and have it, even put in that like cells below, feel free to shoot me a text for simplicity. Boom. And that just opens that door on their end. If you're easy to work with and you're as human as possible, it's going to make them have that guard down a bit more too. So that would be my big thing, is just put your cell out there. When you're at events, when you're doing, whatever it is, put that in your email signature, and also put it in the body too, cells below.
For sure. Love it. Nick, I'll throw it to you, man. If you could provide the takeaway, and then I also want to hear real quick. I know you talked about like an idea you had for event marketing, I think based on Sendoso's event. So if you could share both of those real quick, I think those would be cool for the audience to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like my one tip would be just kind of like just make it timely for me. Like just don't blast me with like 5 messages at once. Like give me kind of like the overview in something. It's just like your elevator pitch. Like give me that elevator pitch in the text message. Tell me who you are, why you solved my problem. And like for me, like I put so much like information on LinkedIn, like personalized. It's just like a cold email for me. It's like if you can add some personal aspect and like tell me like how you're going to actually make my life easier, because that's ultimately what we want at the end of the day. Like make my life easier, like take something off of my plate, because then you're going to make me want to have that conversation, or you're going to at least make me want to point you in the right direction. And like even from like an event perspective, it's like you can use SMS to get people to like just keep, hey, like I'm gonna be over at this event, like, do you want to walk over or something? It's like, walk and talk. It's like there's so many ways to leverage SMS beyond just like prospecting and even like customer stuff or like flash sales or anything. Like you can use it for events and just use it with your prospects at events, use it at people for the events that you're planning. It goes over really, really well. And again, most people have their phone at these events versus maybe their computer. So it's a great way to make sure they actually get to where they should be.
Very well said. No, I love it. Love it, man. Brandon, over to you. One takeaway for people.
Yeah, isn't there something called the golden rule of texting? Text others how you want to be texted, or something like that. Or I don't know if I just made that up.
Beautiful. Oh,
But I
beautiful.
think that's oh, thank you, I appreciate that. No, I think that is a good, just a kind of a good rule of thumb, right? Again, if it's something that's going to be helpful to me, if it's educating me, if it's helping me make an informed decision, great. If it's a flash sale, again, it's something that I'm actually interested in, great. Even if it's a reminder that I have a meeting coming up, great, that's great too. And yes, it is. Yeah, I know you're smiling. Yeah, I'm trying to get in another Chili Piper pitch in there. That's something I'm gonna do. Right. But seriously, it's like if it's something that I actually welcome, great. And if it's something you would welcome, it's probably something that your audience would as well.
really quick, like if you would respond, like read what you write, like if you type out, would you respond to yourself?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like think about that.
Well said. Luke, last but not least, man. One takeaway.
I don't know. One of the biggest things that I see small business owners do, and even a lot of reps, is they write messages that don't pass the scroll test. And so what that is you shouldn't have to scroll down to read anything on your phone. I do that for outbound emails, but it's also applies to text messages. No one wants to read a lengthy multi-paragraph text. Try and keep it 3 lines at most if it's kind of, your first engagement with them. And your results will be much better because people are actually going to read through it and you're not going to overwhelm them.
Great advice. No one wants a novel, we don't have time. TLDR, right? So, well, that's awesome, man. No, great insights, everyone. We're over time, so I want to thank all of our panelists for being here. This was awesome. The recording is gonna be going out to everyone after this. Quick round of applause for the squad here. We really appreciate all you guys. And yeah, if you're watching this, connect with Brandon, Amelia, Nick, and Luke on LinkedIn. We're all out there putting out the good words. So thanks guys so much. This has been great. And
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. It's just hanging out with my friends, I'm definitely doing this anytime. Right?
it feels like,
Talking SMS, I love it.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys. Everyone have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.
See you next
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.